So today I thought that I would start talking about my PTSD a little more. I mean, I've stated that I have PTSD. However, PTSD is a little different from person to person as far as symptoms go. Um, those watching who don't know, PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. It does not. It doesn't just occur in military veterans. Um, it's not just something that you get from combat. If all that's really required is that you go through a trauma. Any trauma can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't mean that every person who experiences a trauma is going to, develop post-traumatic stress disorder. However, it's all that's required is that you go through a trauma and then, some symptoms follow after that. And hey, you have post-traumatic stress disorder. Anyway, for me, post-traumatic stress disorder basically exhibits itself in, well, it exhibits in a variety of ways. For one, I have flashbacks. Flashbacks are kind of like waking, so kind of like waking dreams. In that, I mean, it feels very real. It's like you're remembering, but like a dream, you're in that place again. So, like when you dream, you picture yourself in that scenario, right? If you dream that you're at the mall, then you see them all and you experience them all. The lights, the sounds, the sensations, all of that is a part of the dream. It's kind of like that, except for it's a memory and you're awake. So it's something that really happens to you and you're not asleep when it occurs. So, like I have flashbacks a lot that, involve my mother trying to drown me. I have flashbacks a lot of that time that my father, beat me with the studded belt. Those are flashbacks. And then I also have what's called night terrors, which is the same thing, except that you're asleep. You're reliving a memory in dream form. Outside of that, I also have dissociative periods. They're not as bad as they once were. Once I had a dissociative period, and I came to, and I was in Mississippi. And I don't know how I got there. I know that I drove there, because I was in my car, but I don't remember leaving. I don't know. I have no memory of leaving the place that I was living in Murfreesboro and getting, and crossing the state line in Mississippi. All I know is that, I kind of just came to. And during this very long drive, I would have had to stop and gotten gas. I would have had to stop from eating because there was, wrappers and stuff in my car. I acted out normal things, such as getting gas and going through a drive-through, or I could have gone to the restaurant for all I know. With getting gas, getting food, I act out these normal things. I have no memory of them. I haven't had one that was that bad in a very long time. It's been years. I do still, occasionally disassociate. And a dissociative period is basically like you remove yourself from reality. Your brain kind of stops recording, and so you'll carry on conversations. You might act out behaviors, but when you come out of the dissociative period, you have no recollection of the conversations you had. You have no recollection of the behaviors that you did. And when presented with proof of these things, it's kind of hard to believe sometimes. But now they're much more, short-lived, and they generally take place, at home. the first time my husband ever, experienced one of these with me was apparently we were having a conversation, and I asked him, he told me something, and then like 5 minutes later, I asked him a question. He was like, "We just talked about this," and I was like, "No, we didn't." He was like, "Yes, we did. We just covered this topic like a minute ago. There's, what in the world's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I must have, disassociated." Um, and I'd learned that term from, previous psychology classes and, just being around the mental health care field as a patient, as an advocate. But yeah, he was, so he started doing a little bit of research on it and asking me a lot of questions about it. And, I mean, it's basically, for me, a defense mechanism. A therapist agrees. It's probably a defense mechanism. It's probably just something that I learned to do as a child to kind of, split in half almost, to where a part of my brain that would normally record this into memory is like, this is not something that you want to remember, so we're going to not record. So in a function, we're going to record. So that happened. And a lot of things can trigger my symptoms. I also have like an enhanced verbal response. Somebody walks up behind me, if someone walks up behind you and says boo, you're likely to jump. I will probably jump more than the average person. Well, not probably, I know that I will. I become startled very easily. It doesn't take much at all to startle me. Which is basically because I'm always on alert. When I walk into a room, I'm constantly checking for entrances and exits and how do I get out of this. And it's not even something that I think to do. It's just something that like I automatically notice. It's been, programmed into me to automatically notice entrances, exits, and so forth. So one of the reasons I do not like my apartment is because there's only one entrance. And if something were to occur, if someone were to break into the house, I have to get past and get out. I don't like that. It really bothers me. I need at least one other exit route, but I would prefer to have like 7. 7 or 8 exit routes is great for me. Technical safe for nobody will ever really feel completely safe. I'm paranoid. It doesn't take a lot. And I can kind of talk my way through this, but it doesn't take a lot for me to become convinced that someone is out to get me or out to sabotage me or doesn't like me or is talking about me. And for the most part, I can talk myself out of this. I thought that the neighbors who took in my nephew, I started becoming really paranoid with him. And, my husband and I would talk about it. And I would say, like, well, I mean, I just know that they're trying to, like, steal the kid. And my husband was like, I don't think that's their intention. I don't know what their intentions are. I wish they'd be a little clearer. I don't think that's their intention. And like I could intellectually talk myself out of it to where I could, function appropriately in situations involving them. However, on an emotional level, it was very hard for me to let go of that sense of, they're out to get me. They're out to sabotage me. They're out to steal the kid. They're, secretly talking to my dad behind my back about the situation. They're in cahoots with my brother. Something's up. This isn't right. This isn't normal. And I was wrong. And I know that I was wrong. I knew at the time that I was wrong because that's, for lack of a better word, that's crazy. And they're perfectly fine, normal people who were just looking out for 5-year-olds' best interest. Um, it doesn't really take a lot for me to become, you know. I also deal with a lot of like anxiety, just in general, just specifically, well, there's a lot of like social anxiety. It's very hard for me to introduce myself to people or to social cues are sometimes hard for me to navigate. Um, Almost like mild autism or something. I know it's not autism, so there's a variety of other, symptoms that would be required for diagnosis of autism. But as far as like the social abilities go, um, I mean, I've learned to fake it pretty well, but it's really hard for me to know like what I'm supposed to say, when I'm supposed to say it. Earlier, I was talking to a neighbor, and I was very uncomfortable because I don't know her that well, and I don't know when I see her, am I supposed to speak, or if I do speak and she's busy, then I mean I'm bothering her. And basically, what most of my like social issues come down to, I don't want to bother people. I have a fear of bothering people. Um, and it could almost be called phobia because it does interfere with my normal day-to-day functioning. I even have a fear that I'm bothering my husband sometimes. It's ridiculous because he's my husband, you know, like he's my husband. So, he knows me, and I think he's okay with being bothered by me, and I shouldn't really be fearful of that. And it's nothing that he's ever done. It's totally in my head. Like I think that I'm always bothering people. And this is one of the reasons why it's hard for me to maintain friendships. Because eventually people get tired of always being the first one to call, always being the first one to text, always being the first one to reach out. But I can't reach out to people. This is not something that I do. I don't reach out to people. So hard for me to reach out to people. I have one friend, I think. Yeah, I have like one friend that I ever really reach out to, where I will sometimes message her first. No, I take that back. I have two, but the other one I'm not really like close to. Um, I've known her since I was a small child, and so we're kind of friends by default. We don't have that much in common anymore. I mean, I love her to death. We don't have that much in common anymore. But the other one, like I reach out to her in times of like need or stress or whatever. Um, I don't know. We develop a lot of coping mechanisms, which is one of the reasons why I probably have a really good imagination. Um, my husband's trying to write a book, and he says that he needs my help with it. And one of the reasons is I'm really good at filling in the details of the story. And it's all in my imagination. I have really good imagination. So I used to retreat into my imagination when I was being molested or raped or abused. I would, retreat into my mind and develop these insanely intricate worlds where, it's kind of like the movie Precious, actually, because in that movie, she creates these visions of like, fame, and that's yeah, that's basically what I did. Was I retreated into this world, and I pretended, in this world I was, um, a world-renowned veterinarian because I love animals, or I was, a movie star who loved to act, or I was a rock star who, you know, I loved to play drums back in the day. And I was actually on a plane once, and everyone was kind of, or they probably weren't dressed that way. They were, I was dressed very rocker chic, and everyone else was just first class. Um, was dressed very like business casual. Um, and so, I was very nervous because I felt like everyone was staring at me. So I pretended, and I was 30. This was a couple of years ago. I was 30 years old. So on the plane, I pretended that, everyone thought I was a rock star. And then I took that and decided that I was a rock star. I was a rock star, and that's why I was in first class, and I was a drummer for, such and such band, and I was on my way to do a tour. I didn't tell other people this. I just kind of, made up this own little fantasy in my head because that's how I cope with stress sometimes. So just make up these insane fantasies. It's also how I fall asleep sometimes. I make up these insane fantasies. But my dogs help because I probably wouldn't go outside if not for my dogs. But I love my dogs, and dogs need to, go to the bathroom, so I have to take them outside to go to the bathroom, which means I have to go outside in the sunlight, which I probably wouldn't do if not for my dogs. So, yeah. So that's what my symptoms of PTSD are like. I know it's different for other people, but that's mine. My husband's hyper aware of them. So, oh, tired. Like, he knows that I have a thing about being splashed in the face with water. So when we were swimming at a friend's this weekend, he splashed everyone with water, but he didn't splash me. And then he picked me up and acted like he was going to dunk me once, and then he caught himself and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You know, it's fine. Realize what you're going to do." So I kind of mentally prepared myself for it. And he knows that he has to give me a forewarning, give me some kind of warning before he just does anything involving water, because it will freak me out. It will totally freak me out, and I will have a meltdown right there in front of God and everybody. I don't even believe in God, but I know it's gotta be a hassle sometimes, to not be able to do certain things that so many people take for granted, like splashing a friend with water in a pool. That's one of the reasons I'm very lucky to have him. I guess he puts my mental health above the satisfaction that one gets when one splashes a friend in the face with water. So, I guess that's it. And strangely enough, one more note before I end this. I actually told people about this vlog that I'm doing, which, while I'm sure that, I'm not sure, but I don't really believe that anyone's really watching it, it kind of helped just to tell people that I was doing it, because it kind of felt like the thing that I was doing in secret, and telling other people, like, hey, I'm doing this thing, and things are kind of helping. I don't know. It kind of helped me feel better about what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel bad, like I'm betraying my family and friends by talking about them on screen, but I don't know. It helps. So that's it for now. I shall return tomorrow because, I thought I was going to do this daily. So yeah, there you go. PTSD 101.